Hey, what's going on, VC? Vinyl Groovers here, and today I'm here to talk about a Major Spinner, right? Major Spinner, that's definitely an album that has been on my turntable a lot lately. And, you know, when I think about a Major Spinner, I think about an album that's very cohesive, something that I just want to groove constantly. You know, you get into that mind state, you get into that flow, or it's just some type of vibe that you're in. And you want to be a part of something that gives you that soundtrack to your mood at that moment. And right now, my Major Spinner is The Chronic. Dr. Dre. This album right here is probably a top 20 all-time album. Any genre, doesn't matter. Top to bottom, this album really set a lot of the precedent of West Coast hip hop as we know it today. No, it's not the first West Coast great West hip hop album. I mean, you had guys like King T, you had guys like Ice-T. They had great albums out before The Chronic dropped. But The Chronic is The Chronic, okay? This album, it really pushed probably the most well-known rapper on earth, I would say, and that's Snoop Dogg. This album really put Snoop Dogg's name out there. There's a track, of course, you've probably heard, Ain't Nothing But a G-Thing, Baby. That was one of the premier songs that really put Snoop out there on Front Street, as they would say. But this album is very cohesive. It's quality. It's a Major Spinner right now. It's definitely been on my turntable on the regular lately. It's just something about the vibe, the energy, and great tracks on here. I mean, many of you probably know these tracks, probably in sequential order. I mean, that's how much people played this album back then and even today. This is a Major Spinner for me right now. Of course, Ain't Nothing But a G-Thing, great track. F with Dre, great track. There's so many here. Little Ghetto Boy, very smooth, very good track. Lot of heat on this album. Of course, it's executively produced by Suge Knight, but the premier producer, of course, is Dr. Dre. He's the one that actually had his hands on the instruments that made this classic, that had his hands on the keyboards, that had his hands on, the 808s, the boards, making this thing come together. Dr. Dre's a legend. High Power, that's another great track. And there's so many great MCs on this album. You think about Daz, you think about Corrupt, who make up the Dog Pound. Corrupt is one of the greatest West Coast MCs that has ever lived. He's on this album. Of course, I said Snoop Dogg. You also had the Lady of Rage, great female artist, MC. RBX, another great rapper from the West Coast. I mean, there's so many people that were responsible for this great album. Another unsung hero is a guy named DOC, a phenomenal writer. He's actually from Texas, but he went to the West Coast and became known as a great writer. You can look up some of DOC's music. It was great music. Unfortunately, DOC got into a major, I believe it was a car accident, and his vocal cords got damaged. So his voice was changed from that moment, right at probably the height of his hip hop career. But he did eventually hook up with Dr. Dre. He was already involved with Dre and Death Row at that time, but he really made a name for himself as a writer on this album. There are other artists as well that are associated with this, but this is a heavy spinner right now. This is The Chronic, okay? And I just wanted to share that with you. Let me know what your heavy spinners are. What do you have that's just been bopping through your house in your mind and something you've been feeling a lot lately. Something that you say, you know what, I want to hear that. I want to play that right now. For me, it's The Chronic. All right. So again, Vinyl Groovers here. You know how we do. Always here to talk about our love of vinyl. And what is your heavy spinner right now? I appreciate your time. Rate, comment, and subscribe. Take care. Peace.